Alright guys, so as you can see from the title of the video, we have here the McFarlane Batman Beyond Batmobile that was recently released. The Amazon one's just released, and the one that was, I believe, the GameStop exclusive with the Terry McGinnis or the Batman Beyond figure combo, that one released, I think maybe in December or so. So that one's been out for a bit. I'm not too sure if anybody's customized this, but I do have my best friend customizes a lot of the McFarlane toys, and he does a phenomenal job. So if you want to check him out on YouTube, his channel is called TrisToys, TrisToys. And he does a phenomenal job customizing a lot of these. So I was speaking to him, and he was saying to me that he was trying to take it apart and ran into some difficulties. That there was definitely other means to keep it together other than the screws. So of course, I'm curious, so I wound up taking mine completely apart, even though I have no interest in, or at least I have no need to customize it for right now. I just don't have the time. But anyways, I just wanted to share this experience in case that it helps somebody else out in customizing theirs and understanding how it is to properly take this thing apart. And so I just wanted to go through it. So I will say that you're not going to be able to access any of the screws or anything that you need from the top. The top is going to be everything. Everything's clean. There's no detachable parts in terms of access panels or ports or anything like that. As to, of course, have the portion that you would probably be laying eyes on, look a little bit more clean. The one thing that you are going to have is going to be this button right here that releases the canopy, and it's got a pretty decent spring on it with enough tension to lift the canopy. Right now it's pretty much flat to the ground. And it opens just fine. So you do not have to remove the canopy, although if you did want to remove the canopy for later on customization, this comes off extremely easy. So if you could see there, right there, you just wiggle off, and you got those two pegs that go into those two peg holes, and you put it right back in. Let's see if I can do this. Here we go. And you just literally pop it on just like that. So the canopy comes off really, really easy. These levers on the inside move ever so slightly, and then it's got the picture of the, oh, you know what, let me take this off so I can show you. So on the dash, it has the picture of the Joker, and of course all of the intricate details in terms of the kind of circuitry, futuristic type of look that the Batman Beyond series had. So that's it pretty much for the top portion of the body, and let me go ahead and set that off to the side. And we'll get to the bottom portion of the body. So the majority of the work that needs to be done is going to be on the bottom portion. Let me turn that off. We're not there yet. Okay, so when you first take this out of the manufacturer's box, you're gonna have access to these two tabs right here, which is where you attach those front fenders. So this key slot keys into these keys for left and right, and everything is labeled. On the top portion, you're going to have. So this one is left, obviously, and this one is right. So everything's going to be labeled like that, and then those fenders are going to be labeled inside of that keyed portion as well. And so when you take this out of the box, you're already going to have access to the two screws that you see here. So there's a hole here, You'll have access to those two screws, and all of the screws are going to be Phillips head screws, such as this. Okay, we've seen them before. Anybody that's customized them knows them. Those two screws come out. In order to get to these two screws, which are basically just below the cockpit, you're gonna have to remove some access covers. So you'll need a flathead screwdriver that's pretty much like this, as thin as you can, but as broad as you can to be able to get some force on it. And those access panels look like this. Now these are individually sculpted. Let me show you both of them. So do take note, because I just went in guns a-blazing, and I just went ahead and removed them. Now, they are both keyed the same, so it doesn't really matter which side that you put them on. It doesn't match up with anything that's actually on here. I could as easily put this on this side as I can on this side, so I don't have a big problem with it. That being said, though, if you want to make sure that it comes... that you're putting it back together exactly the way that is that you took it apart, just take note of which one you're taking off from which side, and put a piece of blue tape and label it, whatever you need to do, right? Just to make sure that you remember. But anyways, once you get those access panels removed, you can go ahead and remove that screw and that screw. This center portion, which is where the display stand goes, and here's a look at that display stand. It's just basically, I keep on doing the same thing. So it is a gloss base stand, which would look really great with the Mesco figure. This kind of makes a really good, very good match. But anyways, off to the side. This is basically just a gloss plastic with an embossed or raised edge Batman Beyond logo, exactly the way it shows up on the cartoon and the comics. And then you've got some fine etch detail, or some fine detail in terms of like a great pattern with random debris that's all dry brush silver. And that's about all the detail that's on that. So this is used for this peg hole right here in terms of displaying it. So you put that in, peg that in like so, and you're able to display it and rotate and all that stuff, whatever. The reason why I brought that up is this little plate right here, you're going to see a seam line around it. And it's like, okay, well, I want to take that off because I'm pretty sure there's going to be a screw in there. You don't need to. I've already done it. I put it back in already because it's, like I said, it's not necessary to remove this in order to separate the two halves of the body. This is the inside. As you can tell, there's no screws or anything that physically attaches the top portion of the body to the bottom portion of the body. So once again, you don't need to remove that. When it comes to the battery compartment, you got one Phillips head screw, you remove it, you put 3 AAA batteries. That also doesn't have anything that physically attaches the top portion to the bottom portion. It does have a support structure that the button to turn on the electronics is mounted, and we'll go through that now. There's 3 different modes for the LEDs and the sound. Let me get it back to the original. So I think this should be original. When you first take it out of the box, at least for mine, this was the first one. So it is a moderately fast flashing of the red lights with some audible sounds, and then you can turn that off. Each mode runs for approximately 10 to 15 seconds or so. I might be off a little bit. I haven't timed it, but approximately 10 to 15 seconds. So the second mode is going to be kind of a pulsating, going from bright to dim, and it does that for the entirety of the time of that cycle. And then you could turn it off again by the button. The third one is going to be a solid on. So that was the one that I prefer. I wish that it had more sounds that you can kind of go through to as well, but the only one that has the sound is that first moderately flashing mode. Like I said, they all stay on for approximately 10 to 15 seconds, maybe 20. I haven't checked. But you can go ahead and manually depress it to stop it again. And so let me go through the bottom section. The bottom section, like I said, is where it is that you access all the panels. The last body panels that you need to remove in order to gain access to the last 2 screws are these. So there's a corresponding left side and right side. Actually, I'm doing that backwards. This is the right side and the other one was the left side. Anyways, you remove those 2 by inserting the screwdriver on this seam and this seam over here and pry it. I would suggest to not mar and scuff up the rest of the body by prying it too much. If you would take your screwdriver and place it in there and kind of lift just a little bit from each side, alternating sides, so you can lift it, as opposed to doing a bunch of force to lift it in one shot, really. So anyways, you take off both panels. It gives you access to the last 2 screws. You remove those 2 screws, and then you are still not done. Unfortunately, there's a bunch of pegs that are glued, and so on the back portion of the Batmobile, you've got 8 in total. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. In the middle portion, you've got these are the 2 screw holes for those 2 screws that you remove from the access lid from here. And then you've got 2 glued ports here. The bottom side has the female port, and then the top side has the male port that plugs into these female ports. So then the front portion of the Batmobile, you've got your 2 screw holes there, and then you've got 3 ports that are glued. I would say these two in the front are the ones that are the smallest diameter. And those are glued. I didn't hit mine up for whatever reason. I don't know if I rushed through it or whatnot, but apparently I didn't apply enough heat so that when I was prying it, these thinner diameter pegs actually broke off. So I'm gonna have to put some super glue there when I reassemble everything and hold it down. But anyways, so right now, aside from the 6 screws, what will impede your ability to separate the two halves in order to do any type of customization, adding lights, sounds, features, putting in an extra switch to have it solid on all the time, you're going to need to gain access to this by removing those 6 screws and then having the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So there's 13 different screw holes or portholes that are glued, and that's the reason why it's so difficult to separate. Now, I did remove this portion from the back by prying little by little and then taking out, prying a little bit more, and that allowed me to have some access to be able to get one hand in this side and one hand in the other side and kind of separate as close to these various pegs as possible. If you try to separate and pry too far away from those pegs, you're going to wind up flexing the plastic to the point where it turns white and then it breaks and cracks. Or you might wind up bending it to the point where when you put everything back together, it doesn't want to stay again, or it doesn't want to be as seamless as it was before. So when you're putting it back together, you could either use some type of super glue, either a slow drying super glue or some type of epoxy glue, and just dab with a brush the inside so that when you put everything back together, it dries and stays together. Or if you put it back together with just the screws and all of the seams of the sides of the body look fine and you're happy with that, if you think later on you're going to go back and customize a little bit more or add some things in the future, then and you don't want to go through the hassle of getting a heat gun or a blow dryer rather, you could just maybe glue 1 or 2 or none at all and just use the screws. What I used was a blow dryer, just a regular, blow dryer that you or your wife might use, or anybody. And I don't know how many watts that one is, but I use it on full fan and full heat. And now that you know exactly where all of these are, you can kind of pinpoint the exact area that you need to aim the blow dryer. I would say that if you're going to be using a heat gun, we all know those go to very high temperatures, temperatures high enough to warp and melt plastic. So I would advise that if you are using a heat gun, take some precaution and make sure that you're putting it on a low enough temperature setting that you're not going to warp the plastic, impeding your ability to put it back together and have everything seam up correctly. So if this video helps, well, I hope it helps, and if it does, I'm glad, and I'm glad that I was able to help you kind of understand what's going on with this Batmobile and get past the difficulties of getting it separated. So if this video helps, that's the point of it, right? Take care, and if you do customize it, find some way to post it on IG or tag it in in this video. Appreciate you viewing, and like I said, hope this video helps. Thanks.